A very good morning to all my dear students. Welcome you all for our SST online class. Dear students, we have already started our social studies chapter, our culture and heritage. In the previous chapter, we learn about natural heritage and cultural heritage. We learn about stupas, we learn about cave paintings, and we learn about different types of festival which we celebrate in our country. Now today our second point is temples. India is also home to many magnificent temples that were built in the olden times. These temples can still be seen in different parts of the country and are a very important part of our material heritage. Brihadeshwara temple is a Hindu temple dedicated to Shiva, also called Rajarajeshwaram temple. It is located on the south side of Kaveri river in Thanjavur, in the Indian state of Tamil Nadu. It is also known as Rajarajeshwara temple and Rajarajeshwaram. It is one of the largest temple in India. It was built by Tamil king Rajaraja Chola first and completed in 1010 AD. The temple turned 1000 years old in 2010. The temple is part of the UNESCO World Heritage Site known as the Great Living Chola Temples, along with Brihadeshwara Temple and Airavatsara Temple. The story-like roof and the walls of the temple, both inside and outside, are beautifully carved. Inside the temple complex is a huge statue of Nandi, carved out of a single rock. This is the picture of Konark Temple. Dear students, Konark Sun Temple is a 13th century Sun Temple at Konark, about 35 kilometers northeast from Puri on the coastline of Odisha. The temple is attributed to King Narasimhadev I of the Eastern Ganga dynasty about 1250 CE. Dedicated to the Hindu sun god Surya, what remains of the temple complex has the appearance of a 100-foot high chariot with immense wheels and horses, all carved from stone. The structures and the elements that have survived are famed for their intricate artwork. It's also called the Surya Devalaya. It is a classic illustration of the Odisha style of architecture. The cause of the destruction of the Konark temple is unclear and still remains a source of controversy. This temple was called the Black Pagoda in European seller accounts as early as 1676 because it looked a great tower which appeared black. That's why that people called this Black Pagoda. And similarly, the Jagannath temple in Puri was called the White Pagoda. Both the temples serve as important landmarks for sailors in the Bay of Bengal. The temple that exists today was partially restored by the conservation efforts of British India era archaeological teams, and UNESCO declared World Heritage Site in 1984. Our next point is Minars. What is meant by Minars? Any student having any idea? See that picture carefully which is in your textbook. A minar is a tall tower made to mark an important event in history. Minars were also constructed by kings in the olden times. The Qutub Minar is towering 73 meters high. tower built by Qutbuddin Aibak. The tower was built to celebrate Muslim dominance in Delhi after the defeat of Delhi's last Hindu ruler. This tower is the highest tower in India, complete with 5 stories and projecting balconies. The first 3 stories of the Qutub Minar are made of red sandstone, and the last two are made of marble and sandstone. The construction of the Qutub Minar was started by Qutbuddin Aibak, but he only constructed the basement. The construction of the tower was later taken over by his successor, Iltutmish, who constructed 3 more stories. The last 2 stories were completed Firoz Shah Tughlaq. The different architecture styles from the time of Aibak to Tughlaq are clearly visible in the Qutub Minar. Apart from the tower, the Qutub Minar complex comprises of the Kuwait Islam Mosque, the first mosque to be built in India, a 7-meter high iron pillar, the tomb of Iltutmish. Our next point is forts. The kings in olden times made forts to protect their capital city and territory. The Red Fort or Lal Killa, built on the banks of the river Yamuna, is a good example of India's great architectural heritage. Dear students, we have already taken information about Red Fort. It has a beautiful gardens, assembly halls, mosque and palaces. Every year, the Prime Minister addressed the nation from the Red Fort on Independence Day. The fort of the Fatehpur Sikri. It's near Agra. It's constructed primarily of red sandstone. The entrance is through a huge gateway called the Buland Darwaza. Fatehpur Sikri is a small city in northern India just west of Agra, founded by a 16th century by a Mughal emperor. Buland Darwaza Gate is the entrance of Jama Masjid Mosque. Nearby is the marble tomb of Salim Chishti. Diwan-e Khas Hall has a curved central pillar, and Jodhabai's palace is a mix of Hindu and Mughal styles, next to the 5-story Panch Mahal that overlooks the site. Our next point is tombs. In ancient times, when kings or members of the royal family died, they were buried inside tombs. The Taj Mahal is a tomb located on the banks of the river Yamuna. It is made of white marble and took 17 years to complete. The white marble is inlaid with semi-precious stones, which shine in the sun and glow in the moonlight. The Taj is an architectural marvel and is one of the 7 wonders of the world. It attracts tourists from all over the world. Now our next point, memorials. The Victoria Memorial is a large marble building in Kolkata, West Bengal, India, which was built between 1906 and 1921. It is dedicated to the memory of Queen Victoria, the Empress of India, and is now a museum under the auspices of the Ministry of Culture. The memorial lies on the Maidan near Jawaharlal Nehru Road. It is made of white marble and has a huge dome with a bronze statue on the top called the Angel of Victory. The statue acts as a weathercock by rotating with the wind. Now, our second last point, epics and folktales. An epic is a long poem that tells us about ancient people and gods. India's 2 great epics, the Ramayana and Mahabharata, are well-known epics. They are written in Sanskrit These books are also referred to as Itihasa or history. They span over a long period and give us a good insight into those times. Both the epics have different characters and stories. Though the main story is quite simple, it is described in great detail with many short stories interwoven into the different parts of the main story. Folktales are stories that have been handed over generation to generation. These stories are passed down by word of mouth or what is known as oral tradition. Indian folktales come from diverse religious, social, and cultural background, contributing to their richness. These folk tales are suitable for all ages. In many of the folk tales, like those from the Panchatantra, animals and humans speaks and interact with each other, providing a good insights into the world of animal and human beings. All the stories carry morals and values. Dear student, now our last point, miniature paintings. Miniature paintings means what? Miniature paintings is a traditional style of art that is very detailed, often referred to as painting or working in miniature. Because of their origins and illuminations, they are also painted to have as smooth of a surface as possible. Do you know who is responsible for starting miniature paintings? The technique of painting miniatures in enamel on a metal surface was introduced in France in the 17th century and perfected by Jean Patatot. Miniatures are executed on a very small scale for books or albums on perishable materials such as paper and cloth. The Palace of Bengal were the pioneers of miniature paintings in India. Miniature art societies hold annual shows around the world. The Mughals popularized the art of miniature paintings. The themes of this miniature or a small version of paintings are court and battle scenes, landscapes, and stories from Ramayana and Mahabharata.